When sellers are thinking about what they're netting from their sale, they're thinking about one number, and they're usually focused on that list price. What they don't always think about is all of the things that pop up between that sale price number and the check that they actually get at the end of the transaction, and it can take a little bite out of your profits. If you're not paying attention, it can be a really, really rude awakening. So let's talk a little bit about what it costs to sell a home anywhere, but really specifically here in the Richmond area. If you don't know me yet, my name is Cindy Bennett. I'm an associate broker with Maison Real Estate Boutique, and I have been selling real estate in the Richmond area since 2003. It's been a minute. And today I'm talking about all of the costs that are involved with selling a home in the Richmond area, the ones that you expect, the ones that a lot of people don't expect, and what it all looks like at the end of the day when you get that final check or that wire into your bank account. First, let's talk about the costs that people often underestimate, and you can imagine the biggest one, because it is still in the news always, agent commissions. That is going to be the biggest bite of your profit as a seller. It's going to be the commission for the listing agent, me. But also, most buyers are going to ask for you to pay all or some of their buyer agent compensation. This is what has been in the news for the last couple of years, really, and is often very confusing for people. But anticipate, based on what you've negotiated with your agent, you know what you're paying your agent. Ask them what you should just kind of estimate to pay a potential buyer's agent when you get an offer on your home. Other than the agent commissions, which again, biggest chunk, you're going to have some other fees on the side of the seller, but trust me, the rest of that stuff is going to be just nickels and dimes compared to what you generally pay in closing costs on the buying side. So there's a little bright side for you. Here are the things that you're going to pay on the selling side for closing costs when you sell a home in our area in Central Virginia, the Richmond area. If you're in an HOA, there may be an HOA fee in addition to the disclosure package that comes with the HOA. That's got all the terms and conditions and covenants and rules and regulations and all that fun stuff. Big, thick document. We used to get them in big, thick books. Now it's all digital, still costs the same amount of money, and takes the same amount of time to put it together. Anyway, I guess that's just my own private beef. But you're also going to pay title fees. You're going to pay grantor's tax. Generally in the state of Virginia, you're going to have to pay a grantor's tax because your locality, the state, and the locality, whichever county, or if you're in the city, they're all going to want a little bite as well. So once you get those out of the way, you've got the HOA. Sometimes there's some sort of contribution. If you have anything that is overdue, you're going to have to clear that up, or it's going to be cleared up for you at the closing table. And then of course you're going to have anything that you have agreed to credit to the purchaser. I usually try to give every seller a net sheet showing exactly where they're going to land based on the estimated ideas of where we might sell. So it depends on the way that works because everyone's situation is a little different, but I do think it's tremendously helpful to have an idea of what you're going to make at a certain price before you ever put your home on the market. Okay, most of those are pretty standard, probably not terribly surprising, but let's talk a little bit about some of the costs that people don't expect. That, if you're thinking, hey, I could sell my house for $750, let's look at what's it going to take to get it to looking like a $750,000 house. It's usually something. So these costs could be a few $100s or a few $1,000s, but that is the pre-marketing, the pre-listing prep. So maybe some landscaping, usually some painting, cleaning. Maybe you need a couple of things repaired. So you know your house better than I do, or better than anyone does. So you should have an idea of what you know needs to be done. And then your agent comes in, me, and tells you, hey, you may not need to do this because that's not something people are really concerned about. Or, hey, you hadn't thought about painting your front door. Let's do that and maybe put some mulch down and things of that nature. So again, depending on the condition of your house, that can vary widely, but that's definitely a cost that a lot of people don't really factor in when they're getting ready to put their home on the market. Another one, inspection repairs. I can't think of anyone who goes to list their house and says, gosh, I know this is just going to be a nightmare when it comes to inspections. I can count on one hand, or no hands maybe, that the number of times that that's happened. It just doesn't happen. Most people think their house is in better condition than it is because most people just start to ignore those little things, the little drippy faucet, the little broken handle on the cabinet door, that sort of thing. For a lot of people, they're just going to work around it. They're not going to think about it a lot. But when you're buying a new house and you're putting out all that money, you're probably not going to want to work around a whole bunch of those things. So if you're selling, get a real hard look at what is going on with your home and the condition that everything is in. I am not always a fan of a pre-listing inspection because in my experience, people will have an inspection, you're paying the inspector to find something, and I have some fantastic inspectors, so this is no shade at all to inspectors, but you're paying them to find problems, they're gonna find problems. You do a pre-listing inspection, you find 20 things, you fix 20 things. Well, I can guarantee you most buyers are still gonna wanna have their own inspection, and when they do, their inspector's probably gonna find 20 more things, and now you're fixing 40. Another thing worth factoring in, especially if you've already moved, you're thinking you're already going to move and you're going to sell the house while it's vacant, no one's living there, think about the carrying costs. How quickly do you think it's going to sell once it goes under contract? What's the average time that you think it's going to close? And look at what the carrying costs of that home are, especially if it is in the dead heat of summer or the dead of winter. That's going to really hit you with the electric bills and things of that nature. So sometimes it makes sense to drop the price a little based on the condition of the home or based on the market that you're in to sell it a little more quickly and not have those carrying costs. Because once you add in all the utilities, another mortgage payment, and you may already be paying another mortgage elsewhere, adding in all those things, the carrying costs of having two homes can get pretty painful pretty quickly. Moving costs. I don't know about you, but I have definitely aged way out of being able to call all my friends, offering them a pizza and some beer and having them move me lock, stock, and barrel. It just doesn't happen anymore. So I don't know what your moving situation is, but you definitely want to budget between $2,500 on up to $6,000 or $7,000 if you're moving locally. If you're moving out of state, it's probably going to be even more. But take that into account because it's not cheap and most of the time it is necessary. At the end of the day, the number that really matters is not the sales price. It is the sales price minus your mortgage balance, minus your moving costs, minus the cost of repairs, minus the cost of agents or contractors that maybe did some work going along or perhaps did work after the home inspection and they're going to get paid from settlement. The pre-marketing, pre-prep of your home to make sure that it shines and looks the best that it can as you hit the market. Make sure you're calculating all those costs in, and then you're going to have a much bigger smile on the day when you actually get the check or get the wire, because it won't be an unpleasant surprise like, hey, where'd my money go? If you have any questions, give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. If you're thinking of selling, I do always go through my marketing plan and how I work, but also what everything looks like from your end so you have a good, solid, clear idea of what your numbers are going to be at the end of the transaction. So stay tuned. Make sure you're following, subscribe to my channel. But if you're thinking of selling or buying, give me a call, reach out, send me an email, and let's talk. I'd love to help.